The signal cut through every communication channel in the sector like a blade through silk. Admiral Vextari of the Dominion felt his foreheart stop beating for a moment when the automated translation rendered the words into his native tongue. Emergency broadcast to all vessels. Human combat fleet mobilizing near contested border regions. All non-allied ships are advised to clear the neutral zone immediately. This is not a drill. The bridge of his command vessel fell silent. Every officer stopped what they were doing. Every screen flickered with the same repeating message. The humans were moving their warships. After 300 years of careful diplomacy and quiet threats, the humans were finally showing their teeth. Vextari had served in the Dominion Navy for 60 standard years. He had fought against the Creel during the Resource Wars. He had witnessed the fall of the Seventh Empire. He had survived encounters with species that had been wiping out civilizations since before his people learned to walk upright. But nothing in his long career had prepared him for this moment. "Get me a visual on the border," he commanded. The main screen shifted. What appeared made his crew gasp in collective horror. Ships, hundreds of them, no, thousands. They emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, each vessel painted in the dark gray colors of the United Earth Defense Force, carriers the size of small moons. Battleships bristling with weapons that could crack planets. Destroyers moving in tight formations like predators circling wounded prey. By the ancient stars, his tactical officer whispered, where did they hide all of this? That was the question everyone in the galaxy had been asking for centuries. The humans had joined the galactic community as refugees from a dying world. They had arrived in generation ships, desperate and humble, asking only for a small planet where they could rebuild their civilization. The Council had given them a barren rock at the edge of known space, expecting them to struggle for survival like every other newcomer. Instead, the humans had thrived. Within a single generation, they had terraformed their new home into a garden world. Within 2, they had colonized every habitable planet in their system. Within 3, they had spread across an entire sector, building space stations and mining operations and research facilities that made even the most advanced species nervous. And now they were showing what they had been building in secret all this time. Ambassador Kira Chun stood on the bridge of the flagship Defiance, watching the other species scramble to respond to the mobilization. Her face remained calm, but inside she felt a mixture of pride and sorrow. She had spent her entire career trying to prevent this moment. She had negotiated treaties and trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. She had smiled at creatures who viewed her species as nothing more than useful workers or potential threats. But some things could not be solved with words. "The Dominion fleet is withdrawing from the border," her aide reported. "The Creel are recalling their raiding parties. The Council is demanding an immediate explanation." Kira nodded slowly. "Let them demand. They will understand soon enough." The contested border regions had been a source of conflict for decades. 3 species claimed ownership of the same stretch of space, and all 3 had been willing to go to war over it. The humans had tried to mediate, offering compromise after compromise, but their efforts had been rejected with contempt. "Humans do not understand the ways of the galaxy," the Dominion representative had told her. "You are too young, too naive, too weak. These matters will be settled by those who have the strength to enforce their will." That conversation had happened 6 months ago. Since then, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. Trade routes had been disrupted. Civilian vessels had been attacked. 3 human colony ships carrying 10,000 settlers had been destroyed by unknown assailants, though everyone knew exactly who was responsible. The Council had investigated and found no evidence of wrongdoing. The humans had demanded justice and been told to accept their losses quietly. The galaxy had expected them to submit, as they always had, because that was what weaker species did. They had miscalculated badly. Admiral Jiang Wei stood at the center of the fleet command, surrounded by holographic displays showing the position of every ship under his command. 7,000 vessels in total, ranging from small patrol craft to massive dreadnoughts that had never been revealed to the galactic community. This was the culmination of 3 centuries of preparation, of building in secret while smiling in public, of enduring insults and dismissals while knowing that one day the truth would be revealed. "All ships report ready," his executive officer announced. Jiang Wei allowed himself a small smile. "Then, let us begin." The human fleet began to move, not toward any single target, but in a carefully choreographed pattern that demonstrated both their numbers and their discipline. They spread across the contested regions like a wave, establishing defensive positions at every strategic point, creating a wall of steel and fire that no enemy could hope to breach. The response from the other species was immediate and chaotic. The Dominion mobilized their entire navy, but their ships were old and poorly maintained. They had relied on their reputation for too long, and now they faced an enemy that had been studying their weaknesses for generations. The Creel sent their fastest raiders to probe the human defenses, but they found no gaps, no vulnerabilities, no opportunities for the quick strikes they preferred. Every approach was covered by overlapping fields of fire. Every angle of attack led to certain death. The Council convened an emergency session, demanding that the humans explain their actions. They threatened sanctions, embargoes, even military intervention. But their threats rang hollow because everyone could see the truth on their screens. The humans had been preparing for this moment since the day they arrived in the galaxy. Every treaty they had signed, every concession they had made, every insult they had endured had been part of a larger strategy. They had played the role of the humble newcomers while building a military force that could challenge any power in known space. And now they were done pretending. Captain Sarah Martinez commanded the destroyer Relentless, positioned at the tip of the formation facing the Dominion border. She had lost her brother in the attack on the colony ships. She had watched his face disappear in static as his vessel was torn apart by weapons fire. She had mourned him quietly, as humans were expected to do, while the galaxy told her that his death was unfortunate but unavoidable. Now she stood ready to deliver a different kind of message. "Dominion vessels are powering weapons," her sensor officer reported. Sarah nodded. "They are testing us. They want to see if we will flinch." She did not flinch. None of her crew flinched. They had trained for this scenario 1,000 times, in simulators and in secret exercises held far from prying eyes. They knew exactly what to do. "Target their lead ship," she ordered. Single warning shot across their bow. The Relentless fired. A beam of concentrated energy crossed the void between the two fleets, missing the Dominion flagship by less than a kilometer. It was close enough to trigger every alarm on their bridge, close enough to make them understand that the shot could have been a killing blow. The Dominion vessels stopped their advance. Across the contested regions, similar encounters were playing out. Human ships fired warning shots, demonstrated their capabilities, and made it clear that any aggression would be met with overwhelming force. The message was simple but effective. The humans were not threatening war. They were preventing it. Ambassador Kira Chen appeared on every communication channel in the sector, her face calm and her voice steady. To all species and governments in the contested border regions, the United Earth Defense Force has deployed to ensure the safety of all civilian vessels and to prevent any further acts of aggression. We do not seek conquest. We do not seek revenge. We seek only peace. She paused, letting her words sink in. For 300 years, humanity has been a peaceful member of the galactic community. We have accepted our role as newcomers. We have endured discrimination and hostility with patience. We have tried to solve conflicts through diplomacy and compromise. But recent events have made it clear that some species view our restraint as weakness. Her eyes hardened. We are here to correct that misunderstanding. The humans are not weak. We have simply chosen not to display our strength until it became necessary. Now it is necessary. The contested border regions will remain neutral territory, open to all species for peaceful purposes. Any vessel that engages in piracy, raiding, or unprovoked attacks will be destroyed. Any species that threatens civilian lives will face consequences they cannot imagine. She leaned forward, slightly. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The humans protect what is ours, and we have decided that peace in this region belongs to us. Those who wish to be our friends will find us generous and loyal. Those who wish to be our enemies should look at the fleet now surrounding them and reconsider their choices. The broadcast ended. Across the galaxy, species that had dismissed humanity as insignificant were forced to reevaluate their assumptions. The Council held emergency meetings that lasted for days. The Dominion recalled their ambassador in protest, though everyone knew they were simply buying time to figure out how to respond. The Creel went silent, their raiding fleets retreating to the safety of their home systems. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Jiang Wei watched the situation stabilize. There would be no war today. No blood would be spilled. The humans had achieved their objective without firing a single shot in anger. But the galaxy had changed forever. "Sir," his communications officer said, "we are receiving messages from several independent species. They are requesting formal alliances with humanity." Jiang Wei nodded. He had expected this. When you reveal yourself as the strongest force in the room, others naturally seek your protection. The humans would have to be careful about which alliances they accepted, which obligations they took on, which species deserved their friendship. "Forward all requests to the diplomatic corps," he said, "and send a message to Earth. Tell them the operation was successful. The border regions are secure." He turned to look out the main viewport at the vast fleet under his command. 7,000 ships, built in secret over 3 centuries, crewed by men and women who had inherited the determination of their ancestors. The generation ships that had carried humanity to the stars had been fragile things, held together by hope and desperation. Now their descendants commanded vessels that could reshape the galaxy. The humans had arrived as refugees. They would remain as guardians. Ambassador Kira Chun joined the Admiral on the observation deck. They stood together in silence, watching their ships maintain their defensive positions. "Do you think they will ever forgive us for this?" she asked quietly. Jiang Wei considered the question. "Some will, some will not. But they will all respect us now. They will think twice before harming human lives. And that is what matters." Kira nodded slowly. She thought of all the species she had met during her diplomatic career, all the beings who had looked at humans with contempt or pity or fear. They would look at humans differently now. They would see not the humble newcomers, but the sleeping giants who had finally awakened. "We did not want this," she said. "No," Jiang Wei agreed. "But we were prepared for it. That is what it means to be human. We hope for the best while preparing for the worst. We extend our hand in friendship while keeping our weapons ready. We dream of peace while building the power to enforce it." He turned to face her. The galaxy wanted to know what humans are capable of. Now they know. And they will never forget. The emergency broadcast continued to repeat across every channel, a warning and a promise to every species in the contested regions. The humans had mobilized. The humans had shown their strength. And the humans would not be dismissed or ignored or victimized ever again. In the darkness between stars, the fleet maintained its vigil, patient, watchful, ready to defend the peace it had established, no matter what challenges the future might bring. This was humanity's place in the galaxy now, not as servants or supplicants, but as protectors and guardians. The message had been delivered. The galaxy had received it clearly.